what's happening, everyone, and welcome, Swagkage.
Hey, how's it going, fellas?
Glad you could join me on this wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about something that I am fairly familiar with.
Well,
so hold on. What I was gonna say is, so we're gonna be talking about childhood Yu-Gi-Oh stories. Like, I'm like the opposite of most people, where like my experience with Yu-Gi-Oh has become like I've got more of it in like my later years than I did as a youngin'. Like, I got more into Yu-Gi-Oh lately than I was when I was a kid. Don't get me wrong, I still really liked it, but like now I actually play competitively and compete in events and stuff. I still enjoyed playing it a lot as a kid. Obviously, like that's why I took a look at the competitive scene for the game. I imagine you do, have some fun stories to tell, some fun tales of the Shadow Realm.
Tales of the Shadow Realm. I have Yu-Gi-Oh card game stories, anime stories, high school stories.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh as much these days as I used to. I think I kind of fell off when pendulums were in full effect.
Yeah, that's where a lot of people stopped.
I feel like it was a mix between needing to learn new rules, and also I was out of high school, so my friends that I've been playing with until that point, well, I no longer played with them because I was no longer, in the same class as them all day. Just between those two things, there's only so much dueling network you could play,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the things that got me really like annoyed with the game was on Dueling Network. I was playing Heroes, the Bubble Man Stratos Turbo thing, and I don't know if you ever played against Cleeforts, but
yes.
Yeah, that was the thing that I was just like, all right, I can't do it anymore. I'm tired of playing against Clees and losing.
That's kind of when I stopped also.
Because they would
send out these massive monsters. I'm like, all right, I miss the good old days when I used to like banish my friend's whole graveyard and they would like be super upset at me for like the next 2 weeks.
Yeah,
that's what I like.
I miss when people didn't know how to play, or when you couldn't just summon a monster like Apocalypse Towers and just win the game. Like I first saw that and I was like, how do you fucking beat this thing?
Dude, I get PTSD flashbacks of those effect texts that are just like miles long with like 17 clauses, and I'm just like, you know what? I miss the good old day when you used to like, summon Sparkman in attack mode.
Back when the competitive scene was underground, nobody actually knew about it. Everybody thought that their deck with like Komori Dragon and fucking Junk Synchron was good.
Bro, you just put your Dragon Capture Jar in your extra deck.
Yeah.
You got that's it for them. But aside from just talking about like our experiences with the card game, you have any like really embarrassing Yu-Gi-Oh stories from when you were a kid?
So I remember my one of my friends and I like saw the ante stuff that they were doing in Battle City, where you'd like put a card up for you'd wager it, and whoever won the duel won the card. And I was really upset when I lost to my friend and he got my Red Eyes Darkness Dragon.
I think Red Eyes Darkness Dragon sucks.
Yeah, that card's terrible, and it was also in a structure deck, so like whatever. But I forget what happened, but like I spent like days just like tooling with my like shitty, just pile of like common cards that I had, and like putting a deck together that could like beat his, right? And I mean, that was like all I was doing, right? I wasn't watching TV or playing games or anything. When I got home, that was it. And I go back and, we duel, and I beat him, and I'm like, all right, I want my Red Eyes Darkness Dragon back. And then he's like, yeah, well, I lost it because I wagered it to somebody else, and so I don't have it anymore, but you can have my Revival Gem. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. Revival Gem, sick. It like can't die. And
yeah, right,
I like
you watched the anime effect.
Right, and then like I took it, and then I like read it, and I was like, well, this sucks. You got to pay 1,000 every time. And he was like, sorry, no takebacks. And then I have to go and like track this guy down, like the guy who actually has my Red Eyes Darkness Dragon, and duel him for it. And then he tells me that he also doesn't have it, but he does have a Slifer the Sky Dragon. So
hey, worth it.
Yeah, I get the Slifer, but then like I'm playing against the guy who finally actually has my Red Eyes Darkness Dragon, and he like I forget what the game state was exactly, but he had like 10 dragons in the graveyard. So this Red Eyes Darkness Dragon was at like 4,500, and he like beat my Slifer with it because he like I think he summoned it first, like before I had the Slifer. And I thought that like the Slifer attack lowering effect happened like before it was summoned. So like we had to like all put the duel on hold, basically. Like, we were like, no, hold on. We had to, like, take a look at the, like, actual fucking anime episode where, like, Slifer was first summoned. But, like, we all agreed that, you know, we were real men. We could handle using god cards.
You could handle the gods.
Yeah, like, you know, I'm sure that we wouldn't be smitten the way that Odeon was. We saw the anime, and then, like, it turns out that, yeah, it's only after they're summoned that their attack drops, and so he beats my Slifer and takes it, and now he has both my cards, and I was really sad. I was really, really sad after that.
Yu-Gi-Oh wasn't just some like playground, you know, fun.
It was serious business.
It was serious back in the day. I remember I met this dude. He had like a ton of rare cards, and he asked to look at mine, so I just showed him. You mentioned Slifer, so I had Ra with like the little this card cannot be used in the duel on the bottom. And I showed him all my rare cards, and he was like, well, look at these. And it sounded like Kaiba just like slamming his briefcase on the table. And he had like columns and columns of cards. And I'm just like looking through it. They were all commons. Like every single card was a common. It wasn't made clear to me until later when I went to like look for him to give him back his briefcase that no, he meant to trade that big briefcase of commons for like all my rare cards. And I was like so sad. I was like, what? No!
Yeah.
It was the saddest thing ever. He just made off.
I remember once when I was at summer camp, they confiscated my friend's cards because, like, you know, they were really doing that whole crackdown on Yu-Gi-Oh business. Like everywhere, like school and like summer camp and like everything. And then they were gonna give it back to him. That was just supposed to be a warning because they gave me back my deck, but they just lost it. And he had some of my cards, like, because I let him borrow them to like beef up his deck. Right, so like the deck that I was given back was like a weaker version of mine because he was like playing against somebody else and like some anti stuff. And he starts to get worried, and I'm like, no, I'm sure you'll get it back. And then eventually, like one day, like all of the staff at the camp starts like walking around asking us like, hey, have you seen Connor's Yu-Gi-Oh cards? Hey, have you seen Connor's Yu-Gi-Oh cards? And I'm like, what's the deal with that? And then, like later I hear that his like mom is trying to like sue the camp for like losing the cards. And you know,
not trying to make fun of Connor's mom or anything, but she sounds like a Karen.
That's the impression I got from her when I met her. No, she wasn't having it. And it was like, I don't know how expensive it was. I think I remember he actually had like a mech chaser or whatever, but this was like well into GX when like mech chaser wasn't even good anymore. So it wasn't like $200, but like he had a bunch of cards that I perceived as expensive. So I was like, man, like he must have lost a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, like he had all the pieces of Exodia in his deck, and he always flexed about it. He was always like, yeah, I got all Exodia, you know, no big deal. And like, you know, those were gone.
Dude, I love Exodia decks. They're the best.
Yeah.
They're
he didn't play an Exodia turbo deck. He was playing like just the 5 pieces of Exodia just in case, you know, like that mentality.
Yeah. Dude, I remember I made a deal with a friend of mine. No, my friend of mine, this friend actually asked. He's like, all right, we're going to play like an OG Yu-Gi-Oh game where you could only have one effect monster in your deck, and the deck has to have like 30 monsters or whatever, and only 10 speller traps.
Wait, what?
I'm like that was the idea. It was like an OG Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Make your deck. And I don't remember what he picked. I think he picked like Jinzo or something for his effect monster. And he had a bunch of like Tikis and his traps. So he could have like trap monsters with effects. Like that was his big strategy. Yeah. And I just had like a ton of defense monsters and like mirror forces, and Exodia was my one effect monster. And it was the bottom card of my deck. And we're playing for hours this one damn game and drawing as slowly as possible.
Yeah.
And then the final card of my deck was finally Exodia. I slammed it on the table so hard, and I walked away. He was blown away. He was like, ha, you didn't get to your effect monster yet. You didn't get to your effect monster.
Yeah, and then it's like, this deck has no effect monsters, Kaiba. Except Exodia. And its effect is, you lose.
Yeah, and then he goes, Exodia, no one's ever been able to summon him. But speaking of the crackdown on Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I have to say, my story with the crackdown is probably the greatest story of all time. I was a big flexer back in the day. No, that's a lie. I was a total weeb. But the point is, my high school was like survival of the fittest type. Yeah. If you were playing anything that was like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh, in like the high grades of high school, bruh, people would have none of it. It was savage back then. You had to like hide in the dungeon to play Yu-Gi-Oh! If they see you playing Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like, oh, back with your weeb garbage.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's great because we would all make fun of each other on basically everything, which is why every single person who survived that high school is now like, you know, an absolute mad lad.
Yeah.
It made us stronger. But anyway,
Yeah,
the point is, at one point we were all playing, you know, poker with regular playing cards, and the principal just he was not a fan. Like, first we played with money, and he didn't like that.
Yeah, I can
like,
imagine that getting in trouble.
Yeah, that didn't work. Then we tried with poker chips, and he was like, no gambling. And then we were like playing poker where our chips were Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Like a common card was like 1 or whatever, and a super rare is like 5. Eventually, he just the principal went ahead and just banned playing cards because things were just getting out of hand. So then I devised the ultimate evil stratagem to absolutely flex on everyone that tried to be cool. And I said to my class, guys, they banned playing cards, so let's get them by playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I know, it's such a crazy thought. Who would play Yu-Gi-Oh! Unironically? But we should try it!
Yeah.
I was a huge weeb. We started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! To like get the principal and the teachers annoyed that they can't actually do anything about it. But then the whole class started like unironically loving Yu-Gi-Oh!
That's so awesome.
We'd have these massive Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments. I had like a few decks that I would rotate between.
Yeah.
But it started off great. Everyone was like, praise Lord Nuxanor, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Mastermind! And then, like, it got to the point that no one wanted to duel me because I had this banished deck where,
oh, yeah, like Grand Maju?
I had Grand Maju and DD Dynamite.
Yeah.
And basically, I started off every time with, like, let's say Soul Absorption or whatever.
Yeah.
Then I use Gold Sarcophagus, Banish Necrophase.
Yes, sir.
Everyone
That's the play.
mills, mill 5 cards each. I gain like 10,000 life points. And then DD Dynamite, and he takes like 3,000 damage.
Yeah.
Like, and one shot. And people just stopped wanting to duel me. And then it got to the point that one of the teachers just walked up to us. We were in the middle of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And he just grabbed all the cards and started like throwing them everywhere.
Oh my god. Yeah, that... So at the same camp where like my friend's deck got confiscated, they eventually found all the cards and returned them to us. No more Yu-Gi-Oh! And then eventually we talked to the person, like the head of the camp. And then she was just like, you know what, you guys are good kids. You've been well behaved all summer. You don't do anything wrong. You guys can play Yu-Gi-Oh! Whatever. And then this one fucking dick lord lady, like this one that we just hated. I don't remember what her name was.
Dude, you have a lot of Karens in your backstory.
Well, she wasn't like a Karen, but she had like a resting bitch face, and she was like really like, I don't know, she seemed like really excited to like persecute a bunch of little kids. Cause like these were like part-time workers who were like 16 to like 20 years old mostly, was like the staff of the camp. But anyway, Dick Munchie lady like comes over and she's like, oh, sorry, we gotta confiscate your cards. And then we're like, no, Miss Katie, that's the person in charge of the camp, said we could have them. And then we have to basically go into like this standoff, like gridlock, waiting for like 2 hours, just not doing anything for Miss Katie to come back because like, you know, she's like insisting that she confiscate our cards, right? And like one of the other kids is like, no, I heard Miss Katie, she said that they could play. And so like one of the other staff members is like, I don't know if another kid who like doesn't even hang out with them is saying like is like corroborating their story. Maybe we should listen. And like I remember the way she introduced this to the other staff at first. She was like, they're claiming Miss Katie said they could use their cards. And I'm like, bro, we are not claiming anything. She said we could. But like I'm doing it in broad daylight in front of everybody here who has previously taken my cards and almost lost them. Like, why would I take this risk if like but whatever. So we have to sit there for like 2 hours. And then eventually like Miss Katie comes back and she's just like, oh hey, you guys are playing Yu-Gi-Oh! We were like, yeah, because we still had our cards out. She was like, who's winning? And I was like, well, we don't know. And then, you know, everybody slowly, you know, turns and looks at you know, the member of the staff that was giving us such a hard time. We're just like, because she said that we weren't allowed to, and we tried to tell her that you said we could, and she didn't believe us. And then we just see Miss Katie and her just like walk off, and she doesn't come back for the rest of the day. And I was hoping she got fired, but she came back the next day. But it was really annoying, but it was really funny just like seeing the look on her face where she realized that she was wrong and that maybe
if you were like a real man, she would have said, "Give me your pathetic cards," and you would have been like, "Well, I challenge you to a duel." And then you could really like.
And she
would have.
Dick Munchy lady. Yeah, she would have lost because I'm an epic gamer.
So basically, my other story, I was the guy that got really into my duels to the point that I felt like I was an anime protagonist at points. There was like a transfer student, not the anime type transfer student that like gets a massive harem and stuff, but you know, my brother was playing him in chess, I believe, and like he reached into his pocket to pull something out and he pulled out like a crumpled Yu-Gi-Oh pack, and my brother's like, "Yu-Gi-Oh, what?" So like. At that point, I haven't really seriously played Yu-Gi-Oh! For a while. I got into it, like, that night. I sat there, like, I laid out my best cards on the ground. You know, spells, monsters, and traps. And, like, 3 of each, like, just on this massive thing. And I would, like, full Death Note style with, like, math equations flying at me, come up with the ultimate perfect deck. Because the first duel is the duel that counts, you know? If I'm gonna play a first duel, I'm not gonna be able to summon anything on my first turn, and he beats me immediately, I'll never be able to look at him in the eye again. Put together a master deck that I was very proud of. I was a huge fan of Dark Worlds back in the day.
Yeah, Dark Worlds are awesome. Yeah, I know, the discard guys.
Anyway, I met up with this dude, and I started talking to him about Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever, and we started the duel, and I was like, I was praying that I would be able to whip out one of my epic strategies, because it's the first impression, it counts. And when I saw my hand, I released the most evil antagonist anime laugh. Like, I felt like Kaiba. I summoned Protector of the Sanctuary in attack mode! You know, you can't draw cards with card effects. And I activate Card Destruction! And like on the first turn, we both discard, or hand destruction, I don't remember.
Yeah, card destruction's the one where you send your whole hand to the graveyard. Yeah, and then he just can't draw.
Card destruction. Yeah.
And then you get a bunch of discard effects with the Dark World.
Yes,
yeah.
I remember I had Gold, which is the 2300 guy that gets special summoned. So like I had him on the field, and I had my Protector, the Sanctuary, and I don't know, I got some other ones in the graveyard, like the one that draws a card or whatever. And like I had a full hand, I had a fat field, and my opponent had no hand on his first turn, and like he just started sweating. He was like, I felt like he was in the big leagues. Like, what is happening right now? Is this how they duel in this new school? And
yeah.
He was like, what? And he felt like the underdog shonen protagonist joining this school of like absolute mad lad Yu-Gi-Oh masterminds. And I felt like the biggest asshole on the planet, just totally schooling him like right away.
Yeah, that's really funny.
You know.
My last story comes from me being a fucking doofus. Like, so I had 2 Blue Eyes, but I didn't have a third one. I really wanted it, or like to be able to summon Blue Eyes Ultimate, because there's no twin-headed Blue Eyes. It's just Ultimate Dragon. There's this thing where basically like you'll have like assholes occasionally who like actually play the game, who will like trade shark little kids. Basically, they'll come up to them and they'll be like, "Hey man, that card's not that good. Why don't you let me give you this instead?"
Dude,
and so this guy,
I'm telling you, I remember flashbacks, PTSD flashbacks right now.
So this guy sees my Black Skull Dragon, which like first edition from Metal Raiders that I pulled from a pack, which was like really expensive at the time. I'm pretty sure it still is. He is like, "Hey man, I'll give you this Blue Eyes for it." And I'm like, "Oh, absolutely." And then I like see him like laughing later, and I'm like, "Wait, did I trade bad?" And then like I tell my friends about it. They're like, "Dude, you didn't. Come on, man. You got played. Why would you let that happen to you?" And I'm like, "Well, look, hold on. There's different Blue Eyes. Maybe there." So like I look up Blue Eyes White Dragon at first. And, you know, at first a bunch, like, come up, pretty low price, 3 cents and whatever. And I'm like, wait, yeah, these are a bunch of different kinds. Hold on, let me see. What's the difference? Oh, it's like the text over there. So I see DDS 001, and I look it up. And this is the Dark Duel Stories promo Blue Eyes, which only came with copies of the game Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories. And, yeah, this thing is, like, over $100. It's like $200. And so I actually plussed in that trade. And now the card's like $1,000. Hold on, let me see. Because I sold mine like a few years ago just because I wanted to buy an Xbox with it, which I did. Imagine trading a Yu-Gi-Oh card for an Xbox. Like the Black Skull Dragon that I had, I feel like the value of it's gone up, but like I thought that I made such a doo-doo trade when this guy actually, like, he didn't realize that he was giving me basically the most valuable Blue Eyes that there is, aside from maybe like a first edition Legend of Blue Eyes one.
Fat W if that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, he thought he played me, but I got home and I was like then I was like, wait, I can't ever play this card, can I? So I still didn't have a third Blue Eyes effectively. Which was really funny. But also through that, I found out that Blue Eyes were really cheap. So my dad ordered me a third one. Attack.
Yeah, I thought of another story.
All right.
Not my proudest tale, but at the time I thought I was like 5,000 IQ, big brain. So basically, there was this card shop that they also had like a machine that you'd put in like 25 cents and you'd pull a lever and you'd get a card.
Yeah, the dual
I'm talking
terminal
about?
one. Yeah.
It wasn't dual terminal. Like, it was owned by the store. Like, the store would fill it with cards.
Huh.
At first, like, I tried it a few times just because why not? I started, like, getting rares, and I was like, wait, what? And then I realized that the store literally took the packs, opened them, and put them directly into the thing without, like, checking for rare cards. So I knew that every 9, I'd get a rare or a super or an ultra. So I, like, hit the jackpot because a pack was half the price with this thing. But so, like, I put in a quarter or whatever, and I pulled the thing, and a card didn't come out. I was so disappointed, right? Like, I'm supposed to get a card. So I said to the guy, card didn't come out. He said, listen, the rule is whatever you could get out of the machine, you could get out of it. Like, maybe take tweezers and try to pull it out or something. I like put in tweezers. I'm like trying to pull out the one card, and I get like this whole stack of cards. And so I said to the guy, yo, I just got like 30 cards by accident out of the machine. And he's like, dude, I told you that's the rules of the store. Whatever you can get.
Oh my God.
You can get. I was like, wait, what? He's like, I just work here. Those are the rules. I'm like, so can I do that again? He's like, sure. Like, in retrospect, it wasn't exactly the most patriotic move, but
Yeah.
I got some pretty epic cards. Another important backstory is I think we all used to cheat like crazy in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah. 100%.
I remember I was using 6 samurais. I had Great Shogun Sheen and Shien. Shogun Sheen lets your opponent use 1 spell or trap a turn. Shien negates 1 spell or trap a turn.
Yeah.
So I thought, like, if you have both of them on the field, your opponent cannot use spell or trap, period. Like,
But yeah, because Shien negates the activation, they get another
Exactly.
one. Yeah. So.
But at the time, I thought it was the most broken combo on the planet.
There's Patrician of Darkness, where it says you choose the targets for your opponent's attacks. And, like, I thought that meant that you could make your opponent attack their monsters.
I remember using spell and traps, like, anime style. Like,
Yeah.
I remember Kaiba used block attack, and it switched all of his opponent's monsters into defense mode for the
Yeah.
whole duel. So I was like, no way! Block attack! It's like, it's over. GG!
Yeah, I can't attack anymore. How do I win? Yeah.
Also, just like from the anime, they'd normal summon in defense mode.
Yeah, I thought that you could do that as well. One of my friends thought that this was actually Connor, and I had to, like, fucking fight him over this. He thought that, like, when you attack the monster, even if it was in attack mode, it compared against the monster's defense. And I was like, that's not how that works. And he was like, yes, it is. And, like, his friends, like, sided with him. And I was like, dude, I literally have the fucking rule book at home. All right? And he was like, okay, fine. I was like, how much do you want to bet that you are fucking wrong? And he had Obelisk and, like, Raw and Cypher. He had all the God cards. He had Exodia. And I was like, you want to bet Exodia? He was like, oh, I don't know about that. I'm not going to bet Exodia. And I was like, fine, bet one of your God cards. He was like, sure, whatever. And I went for Raw because, you know, Raw was the fucking broken one, because this was before they had their actual effects, so we assumed anime effects. And he was like, fine. And I come back with the rule book the next day, and he's just like, sure. And then, so, like, later, I tried to, like, summon Raw on him, and he's like, yeah, but it's in its sphere mode, so you, like, can't even use it. You gotta do the chant. And I'm like, no, the chant, the Egyptian hieroglyphs aren't on this card, so that's not a requirement. I know he was really salty that I got his Raw, though, so he was, like, trying to, like, shark me with, like, stupid fucking anime rules.
Dude, I remember my friend got Ra, and I got Obelisk at around the same time when they actually got their effects printed out.
Yeah.
Let's just say it wasn't much of a match.
Yeah.
Like, Obelisk was actually pretty damn good.
No, Obelisk
like,
was
at the
alright.
time.
People played it in, like, Frog Monarchs and stuff sometimes.
Yeah, like, it can't be targeted and all that.
Now,
And then,
I thought can't be targeted meant, oh, you can't, if you Dark Hole, it doesn't matter, because that's a target, right? You know?
right, no.
But, no, it's,
But I remember I was reading its effect. I was, like, so disappointed. Oh, it doesn't have that thing where you can tribute 2 monsters to give it infinite attack. Like,
Yeah.
I was so disappointed about that. And then my friend's like, oh, that's annoying to you? Ha! Let me show you Ra.
yeah. Dude, Raw sucks. Raw's the worst card ever printed in this game.
It doesn't even gain attack.
Nope.
Like, you just summon this big fat 0 attack thing.
It's also not as hype, because it goes down to 100 life points, not 1 life point.
Not 1.
Yeah.
Right. We could rant about the Egyptian gods all day. But basically, these were our tragic Yu-Gi-Oh! Backstories, as it were, that shaped the epic duelists that we are today. Well, that Swag is. I don't really play anymore. But, you know. I'm along for the ride. I see people link summoning monsters in extra monster zones, and I'm rooting for them, okay?
Yeah, so, in short, I'm the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Of all time.
Facts. Definitely check out Swag. Link in the description to his channel.
Appreciate it.
Check
Check out Nux. You might have a hard time finding his channel. If you scroll down and you click the Nux Taku name, then there you go.
Like, it's right next to the subscribe button. Once you're there, you can just click the subscribe button, you know, leave likes and stuff.
Yeah, but just saying.
All right, well, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. Nice time reminiscing. Let me know if you want more of these tragic Nux Taku backstory type videos. And have yourselves the most wonderful evening.
And I'll see you later.